Greetings, theists and non-theists. I am the Atheist Paladin, and I'm going to be replying to somebody. You want to know who? Howard the Humongous. At least that's how he likes to call himself. I'm going to be replying to his video about environmentalism. Now, I find his views on it unusual since he considers himself a Democrat. And having a Democrat that is not exactly pro-environmentalism is kind of like having a pro-choice Republican. And, you know, you can't... I mean, maybe there are a few... I've actually heard a few pro-choice Republicans, but they are rare. And basically, they happen in Democrat districts anyways. But he's not a politician... he's not a politician pandering for I guess the Republican vote by being an anti-environmentalist, but he has seems this idea that it is futile to be an environmentalist, and what he says is about the world has been warmer in the past, and those were a result of natural cycles. Ergo, what we're going to do is going to be useless anyways. Warming one way or another is when it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. But to me, that sort of logic is like, well, a tree can fall in the car, so therefore we should drive the car into the tree. That doesn't make much sense. Yes, it's happened in the past, but we know we were causing it now. But he seems to believe that this is going to be such an effort. And in some ways it is. It's going to require a very coordinated way of getting to that goal. But I don't believe that we have to sacrifice for that. Now, in part, I think this idea that he's saying that it's hard to be an environmentalist is the fault of environmentalists. In many ways, we can be doomsayers and very condemnative in the message, but instead of telling what's going to happen, we don't give them what should you do, and it's not necessarily a sacrifice in order to use less things. And usually, just for an example, 25% of all the CO2 that was reduced in the United States, we actually reduced in our production of CO2, 75% of that was due to energy efficiency. And that is like the greatest low-hanging fruit when it comes to environmentalism, is energy efficiency. If we just make the things that we want more efficient, then we can have the things that we want. I mean, I think that the amount of steps between an incandescent light and an LED light, an incandescent light, the standard of 100 watts, is really a lot. And we think about how much for the same amount of light from an LED, and we're talking about 1.7 watts, or somewhere in thereabouts, nearly 1%. We're doing a whole lot better. I mean, think how many power plants we can save if we can make similar savings. You can have an air-conditioned house, or a house that has regular temperature. You can have it warm in the winter, cool in the summer, if you just insulate it enough and use some passive methods. And as a result, if you can do it good enough, you can actually get rid of the air conditioning unit. So not only you're saving electricity, you're even saving capital costs on air conditioning. These ideas, where I get them from, is from the Rocky Mountain Institute on Reinventing Fire. I recommend seeing that series. So we can have the things that we need in order to have the society that we want, to have the comfort of life that we want. We just have to think about from the start point of the product or good or service to its end point, and think about ways we can change the process in the middle in order to make that sustainable so that we can actually do this process forever. So that we actually end up reducing wastes and increasing profitability. And if we actually put 700 billion into the economy on energy efficiency, what we can get back is $1.7 trillion back from all that saved. So now we get the 7 billion back. We'll get another trillion on top of that. So this idea that it's economically unfeasible to be an environmentalist, that's just poppycock. And maybe it's our fault as environmentalists in not giving the solutions. We just give the condemnation. And what Howard says is a solution is that we just ought to accept the climate change and just be like Genghis Khan with his 10,000 strong army with a completely mobile capital just made out of tents. Well, Genghis Khan can do it because that's Bronze Age or Iron Age technology, whatever. But we are now in a totally different age. We are living better than even Genghis Khan did. And to say, oh, we're just going to make that mobile, I don't think he's considering a lot of things. And for one, we have the population on our planet, and we're not starving to death because we have crops that are in the ground, that are in the soil, that don't go nowhere. We have high-yielding wheat, corn, and soy, and all these things. We use them to feed ourselves and our cattle. But when the resources like grassland and crops fail due to drought, we're not going to be living as comfortably. This is one of the things that climate change does. You're either going to start having areas where they're going to have lots of droughts, or they're going to have lots of flooding. And neither are conducive for crop making. Unless you maybe want to grow rice. They grow in flooded plains, but we're not going to survive on just on rice. And to think we're going to have these massive cities like New York, you think we're going to put the Empire State Building on wheels? No. Further, what he's not considering is what environmentalists preach is not just CO2 reduction. It's about sustainability in general. And when you can look at the things that we're constantly dumping in the ocean, that we now have a garbage patch in the Pacific Sea that can be seen from space, there's something wrong that we're doing. We're not considering garbage. We're not considering mercury. Think about it. From coal power plants, a joint study by the EPA and the FDA found that 75% of our lakes and rivers have inedible fish due to high mercury levels. And 80% of those mercury levels are caused by coal-fired power plants. So it's just not the CO2 that I'm worried about. It's the particulates, it's the heavy metals, it's the chemicals that we use in our petroleum chemical industrial complex. Anywhere you where you produce petroleum and you refine it, there are what they're called cancer lanes. They're just there, people who end up living in the middle of all of a sudden a whole bunch of refineries finds themselves having cancer. So it's all these things I'm concerned about in reducing. It's not just CO2 and climate change. These are the biggest threats. But there's changes in our sea toxicity, increases in our garbage and heavy metals. There's lots to be worried about. But there is a solution. And like I suggest, reinventing fire is one possible way. It gets us there. There are technologies that we are researching to have more efficient electronics, that we're having more efficient solar panels that can be cheaper. We're going to also have more cheaper wind power, cheaper batteries. All these things that we're looking into, that we're researching, which all will be a boon to the economy, all of which can be a boon to the economy if we just only get ahead of this ball and start investing in these sort of things, investing in energy efficiency, investing in a carbon-free grid, investing in our highways and railways and our air to make them all more efficient. All of them can be ways of actually increasing productivity in our economy, because once we get the efficiencies and the gains out of these things, to get all these things will be cheaper. And as a result, we save more money. Which does what? Increases the margins. Which means what, people? Profit. So, it's not a threat to our economy. It's not going to be hard to do. Yes, we have to be coordinated about it. On such a level like World War II level coordinated. But we can shift our economy, and we can shift the way that we live, that we can still enjoy the things that we want. So thank you. I hope you listened, Howard, and that'll help you reconsider your position. And thank you for listening, my viewers. And remember, rationality is the path to righteousness.